Hello, I'd like to continue our discussion of Little Nemo by Winsor McCay. This, we have this oversized calendar from 2005, and we can compare this version of the comic to a version in the book. In both cases, it's clearly the same thing, but the book version has slightly brighter colors in some parts. It also has some discoloration. Um, on the other hand, the blue is fairly vibrant in this version, and of course, the red is a little bit duller, but it is easier to read this larger version, so we're going to study this one. So we're still in 1905, so this is obviously this is a Thanksgiving, so this is November. So McKay has done 6 or 8 Little Nemos between the last one that we've studied. And what's very interesting about this one structurally is once again we have our introduction here, then we have the story, then we have 3 short panels of movement to a conclusion. So I guess this is in some ways this is your climax here, and then of course we have the ending where he wakes up. One thing I want to point out is to our modern eyes, the unusual way that this is read. Now, McKay numbers the panels so we know what his intention is. If this were a modern comic, I think we would read it like this, and then maybe this, and then here probably, and then maybe here, and then here, and like that. But the way Winsor McCay intends us to read it is this, this, and then we kind of do a loop-de-loop like this, that way. Now this reading could be done in a modern comic. I think the way they would do that is they would have speech bubbles, maybe a speech bubble here that partially overlaps here, and then a speech bubble or some prop that directs our eye in this direction. Now we do have these characters forming kind of a line here, but I think that could be exaggerated. And then we could have something that links the eye this way, speech bubbles or some type of prop, and then finally down here. Another thing that makes this a very different read from what we would normally have for a comic today is the narration here. Now the narration doesn't really go panel by panel. The sentence for one will partially end in the middle of the sentence of the next one. So when I'm reading this, I'm constantly looking upwards and trying to fix the story together. So it can seem a little jarring to my modern eyes, but I'm not sure that would have been the intention back then. Keep in mind, in 1905, it was very common to read things aloud, and so many things which are now solitary pastimes, such as, well, reading in this case, or sometimes group activities. So I can easily imagine that on a Sunday, maybe the father was reading this aloud to his kids, and maybe the children were interjecting. Maybe the older brother was reading this to his younger brother, and they were kind of interpreting the story together. So, in a way, the participation of the reader was more important. This is something that I've noticed with some older literature, and by older I really mean, let's say before 1930, that often that literature is better read aloud than it is on the page. Many pulp stories, such as by Burroughs or Robert E. Howard or Lovecraft, those stories are quite dazzling when read aloud by a competent narrator, and they are much more than the sum of their parts if you just sit down and read a Tarzan adventure or The Call of Cthulhu or something like that. Anyway, let's look at this comic in detail. So we have our introductory panel with a beautiful title here. Now this is it is a triptych, if you remember your medieval art history, and the effect of that in a comic is the passage of time. So we are to contemplate this very large turkey. See, if this triptych weren't here, it would just be a big turkey, and then sort of an elf talking to him. But with the triptych, we are to imagine the passage of time, or perhaps dream time. Anyway, so the elf says, "You bring Nemo here to the king. That's all. Just you bring him here. That's all." McKay's dialogue is sometimes pedestrian, but that's all right. The king, of course, is Morpheus. We've met him before. We met him at the very beginning of the very first Nemo strip. Okay, so the mother. "Oh, Nemo, get up. Something terrible has happened." The narrator. "Along about midnight, Nemo thought he felt the house tremble. That when his mamma excitedly, that adverb, called him, he was convinced." So that sentence ends in the next panel. Okay. "Go and see what it is, Papa. The house is shaking. So go, Papa." Unfortunately, the words are a little constrained here in the bubble. Perhaps McKay did the bubble first and tried to cram words in there. That's just his style. We will see that quite often. keep still, says Papa. His papa, the narrator, was also greatly excited and proceeded to ascertain, if possible, the cause of the violent shaking, swaying, and creaking of their home. We need a comma there. Third panel, no dialogue. Narrator. Outside, the night was still, yet the house seemed to be floating away in air. So here we have Papa with a rifle. He says, "That's funny. I don't understand the cause of this at all." I wish we didn't have dialogue. I wish this was just the expression of Papa and we could see his surprise. But McKay is wordy. We just have to accept that. Narrator. Nemo persuaded his mamma to remain inside, one word, the house, while Papa was seeking the disturbance on the outside. Their home, in the middle of a word which is continued down here, was slowly but surely ascending skyward. Adverbs. But by what mysterious power Nemo's Papa could not, wording continued, make out. So, getting to the dialogue, this is beautiful rendition of the house. I love this. I love the city. This is just completely gorgeous. And Papa says, "Well, what is it?" And then Papa continues, "Mama, if you will keep quiet, I will find out all about it, yes." Narrator. Nemo suggested that it might be some monster giant, but his papa called him a, quote, rattlebrain, unquote, and ordered him to pacify his mamma, who was making elaborate plans to faint. I wish that were the dialogue that we saw here. Get rid of these balloons and have the whole quiet rattlebrain, and then the mother saying, "Oh, I'm about to faint," or something better than that. But you understand what I'm trying to say. This is beautiful. I love the city. I love the perspective. I love the turkey. I love the mood. I love this. Okay. But Nemo's suggestion was a fact, and before he could warn his parents, he lost his balance and fell. That's the end of the sentence. Although very busy, he screamed a farewell and quickly, next panel, departed downward. He quickly fell. Maybe he quickly tumbled. We know he must have felt miserable. The awful fate of his papa and ma, the other syllable, papa and ma, was his one thought until he landed, period. So now we get Nemo, "Oh, my poor, oh, mama, and papa, oh." We really don't need that. And then Nemo splashes, "Oh, help me, I'm going to drown, papa, mama. Oh, help, I'm." Fortunately, a lake of nice springy cranberry sauce received him without harm, although he thought little and cared less about his own predicament. Oh, McKay. And then Nemo. his dialogue. I must run. Ah, swim to my papa and mama. Quick, I must find out. No period. Nemo. Nemo had never won prizes for feats of swimming, but he managed to get to shore so awfully next panel, ated that he broke into tears. I guess now we can read the dialogue. What became of our house? Oh, this is awful. This is what a miserable looking Nemo there. That's a good drawing. His one aim was to find what had become of Papa and Mama, so he plunged into, next panel, the forest of celery stalks on the banks of the lake. And then Nemo, oh, I'm lost, I don't know, I don't know, I'm on the banks of the lake. He soon became lost, however, and began, bawling, till his grandpa came in and quieted him. So Little Nemo, November of 1905. This is a beautifully drawn comic. I love the turkey. I love the design. The dialogue could have used a spit and a shine, but this is an older style of comics, and it's really quite wonderful. And we will talk more about Little Nemo later. Goodbye.